Thank you for that awesome introduction. And I thank all of you guys for being here tonight. I was really humbled and honored when I got the phone call from Henry and he asked me to be the keynote speaker for the graduating class of July 2014. A few things went through my head. One was, wow, what an honor to be able to come back to Paul Mitchell the School, Orlando, where my journey began, and to be able to share with this graduating class that's about to begin their journey. Another thing I needed was details. So I got in touch with Henry. He gave me the details. He said, you have about 20 minutes and we need your height because it's a cap and gown ceremony. Two things instantly ran through my head. One being 20 minutes. That had me a little bit worried because for me, the shortest talk that I give is 2 hours. The other thing that ran through my head instantly was, I'm going to get to wear a cap and gown. The closest to graduation I'll probably ever get. Definitely an exciting moment for me to be wearing a cap and gown. So as I prepared for today, I started to write down some notes because as I thought about this opportunity to speak with you guys, I did not want to waste it. I never, ever take it for granted when I have the chance to speak to anyone, whether it's one person or whether it's 10,000 people. Because I know in every audience, there's somebody that's just like me. Somebody that has the same feelings and the same thoughts that I had when I was at this stage in my career. Somebody that knows deep down inside that they have more in them. That they want to make it big. That they want to make a difference. But deep down inside, they also have fear in them. And sometimes that fear prevents them from ever taking a shot. Ever really going for it. So I want to speak to that person tonight. I want to speak to you. Because I know you're in here. I know you're in this room. And I want to share a few things for you to take and internalize as you make your way into this industry. Industry that you can take and that you can use in your career, not just for tonight, not a warm fuzzy feeling, but something that you can actually use and can apply. I thought, how did I feel when I was at this stage? What did I want? And one of the things I wanted more than anything else was for somebody that's done it to tell me what to do. Somebody that's done it, not to blow a bunch of hot air up my butt. Because as I sat there thinking about this is my life. This isn't a game. I wanted to be somebody in this industry. And I know that you guys that are getting ready, and girls and guys that are getting ready to graduate, you have that feeling. So I want to talk about a few things tonight in the little bit of time that I have. I want to talk about really 3 things. The first thing I want to talk about is decisions. The second thing I want to talk about is commitments. And the third thing that I want to talk about is passion. When you think about decisions, a lot of you had to make some of the hardest decisions you've had to make in your life over the past 1,200 hours. For some of the family members, you were a part of it. For some of you, you were afraid to go home and tell the family member the decision that you wanted to make. That was a tough one. To start a career, maybe to go against the grain. Some of the tough decisions that I was faced with in life, if I think back and I think about it, I joined the United States Marine Corps. That was a huge decision I made when I was 18 years old. Going to the Paul Mitchell School was another huge decision that I made. Deciding to become a salon owner was another huge decision that I made. Deciding really the philosophy at the Salon 1.0 that we have is we hire 3 things. And we wear bracelets to remind ourselves of it. We hire coachability, image, and attitude. We call it the CIA. We hire people that are coming straight out of Paul Mitchell the school. And to dedicate a business to that, to be faced with the ridicule, saying, well, how are you going to just hire people coming right out of school? They have no clientele. If they're lucky, they have maybe their mom and dad. That's it. If they're lucky. How are you going to build a business on that? That's not a good business model. But to go in the face of that, those are some of the challenges that I had to face, and as a decision I had to make. When you guys think about what you're going to be faced with, you guys are going to have some of the toughest decisions of your life in the years to come. Finding the first salon. The next thing I want you to think about as you guys are getting ready to go on this journey is commitment. Because there's something that I found out early on in my journey is that when you think about the word commitment, it's not sticking your toe in it. And in this industry, it's not, trying it out. Because success really only acknowledges one thing. It acknowledges 100% commitment. That's the only thing that it'll acknowledge. When you're thinking about not just working for a paycheck, but about joining a salon. You don't go work for a paycheck, you actually join a salon. There's a big difference in that. When you think about that, it reminds me of a story one of my mentors told me. There were 2 guys, a guy named Dave Anderson, a guy named Jim Murphy. And it was a blistering hot day, and Dave Anderson worked on the railroad. Digging ditches, laying railroad ties. He was out there just banging away. Just sweating, working, earning a living. And all of a sudden, on the railroad across the tracks, a private car slowly pulled up. And a guy leaned out the window. He said, "Hey, Dave Anderson." And Dave looked up, wiped the sweat out of his eye. Said, Jim Murphy. He's like, "Yeah, it's Jim." He's like, "Come here." He waves him over. So Dave goes, he gets inside the cart. They sit down, they start catching up, old buddies, sharing stories about family, friends. And then finally, Dave realizes he got to go back to work. After about an hour or so, he says bye, he goes back to work. And when he comes back to work, all the guys are looking at him like, "Dave, that's Jim Murphy." He's like, "Yeah, I know." No. The Jim Murphy, the president of the railroad. And you guys are just shooting it like old buddies. He's like, "How do you know the president of the railroad?" He said, "Well, me and Jim go way back 25 years ago. We started working at this railroad together. We started on the same day, in the same ditches, in the same sun, in the same heat." He's like, the guys are looking at him, "Well, let me ask you something then, Dave. How is it that you're still out here sweating and breaking your back, and Jim is the president of the railroad?" And without hesitation, Dave looked at the guys and he said, "It's pretty easy. Because 25 years ago, when we went to work for the railroad," he said, "I went to work for $3.50 an hour. But Jim, he went to work for the railroad. He was committed." So I want you to think about that as you guys are stepping into this journey, getting ready to find the salon. When I think about the Salon 1.0 and our commitment, we're dedicated to becoming the #1 employer of future professionals in the entire world. That's a big commitment that we make. We're also dedicated to being the #1 creator of salon owners in the world. As we get ready, we're on the brink of opening up our 4th salon in the past 4.5 years. And in that time, we've been able to take a future professional from graduation to now she's at a point where she owns part of 3 salons. And we have 2 more graduates that are getting ready to step into ownership, to own their own salons. And we're just getting started. What it takes to do that is not going to be sticking your toe in it. It's going to take 100% commitment. And hopefully some of you guys here in white tonight are going to be future The Salon 1.0 owners as well. So it's going to take commitment. The last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is going to be something we always use, this word we talk about all the time. We talk about passion. You know, I'm so passionate. I come here as guest artist every single year, and I talk to you guys, and I can see it, and I can feel it in your passion. I can feel it, and you want it. I know you do. You want it. And when you think about that, you have to think about that passion as almost like it's an anchor. That passion is your why. Why you do what you do. Why you decided to trust Paul Mitchell the school. Why you decided to join our company and be a part of our culture. It's got to be like an anchor. It's got to be able to hold you down when you face the difficult times. And I promise you, they're coming. We're always going to be faced with our biggest challenges. Our biggest challenges will never be behind us. They're always going to be in front of you. So what are you going to do to feed that passion? You're going to need knowledge. All we did here at the school was set you up to begin the journey. We gave you the foundation to begin. Now you've got to continue to feed that as you go out into the industry. When you decide to join a salon, you're looking for that continuing education. One of the other things I'm going to ask you guys to do on a regular basis is take an inventory of your peer group. Constantly inventorying your peer group. Because there may be people you will outgrow, and that's okay. If you're the smartest one in your group, you need to find a new group. Statistically, you're going to earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest 5 friends. One of my mentors always says you're the average of the 5 people you hang around. So you need to inventory your group constantly. Be looking to upgrade relationships. And you're going to have the courage to let go of some relationships. To be able to divorce yourself from some relationships. And that's going to be some of the hardest stuff you're ever going to have to do. The other thing I want you to think about is making small changes. When you think about your vocabulary, a lot of times we always think we're going through something. Anybody ever feel like that? You're going through something? Well, if you just change one thing, it could change everything. Instead of going through stuff, from now on, let's start growing through stuff. Just that switch alone could put you in a whole nother galaxy. The other thing I want you to think about is, do you love it? You got to develop a love. Liking it is not going to be enough. When I realized things that I like, I was easy to give up. It's either love it or leave it. So as you guys are starting to take this journey and take these steps into what I consider the best industry on the planet, you got to love it. You got to love it. So find your love. Find your love. I know I searched through it. We were talking backstage about being in core. You guys remember core? My first haircut was a complete, utter disaster. And I'm sure a lot of yours was too. And I've got my learning leaders here that can testify to that fact. But how do I go from a disaster to becoming the cutting specialist at one of our Paul Mitchell schools? To being on the Advanced Academy cutting team, to working with all of our icons? It's love. Love pulled me through it. So you got to love it. You have to love it. The other thing I want you to think about is with that passion, you got to remain a wonder. You got to wonder. When we told you guys, take blue and put it on yellow, it's going to make it perfect. You just did it. Then after the fact, it turned green. You're like, I'm going to do that again. But you have to remain kind of like a child. You have to have that curiosity and that passion to try stuff, to take risks. Because every single day is going to be a fight. But you have to be willing to take risks. And be a little like a child sometimes. Be a little foolish. One of the things that reminds me of that is a study that was done by scientists. And they studied the bumblebee. And without a doubt, after studies, aerodynamics, anatomy, everything that they could find, it all roads led to the fact that they said it is impossible for a bumblebee to fly. It's impossible. The shape of its body, the length of its wings, everything about it, scientifically they were concluded to believe it is impossible. But they forgot in all of their reporting to report to one person, the bumblebee. The bumblebee didn't know that. The bumblebee remained passionate about flying. And as you guys go into this industry, you got to hold on to that. Because the first time a guest cries, what's going to pull you through? It's got to be passion to face it again. And to face it again, and to face it again, and to face it again. You know, it's coming up on 10 years since I was a student at Paul Mitchell School, Orlando. And every single day, I'm excited to see what lies ahead. And it's that passion that's going to continue to pull you guys through as you go from future professional and you cross over to becoming professionals. So I want to leave you with this. One of my mentors always talks about living the dash. And he said, you know, Sonny, if you ever are down on your luck, if you ever feel like, you know, I just don't know how I'm going to put it together. You know, I don't know how I'm going to go one more day. You're ready to throw in the towel and you're ready to quit. I want you to think about this. He said, you can go to any cemetery, I don't care what city, USA you're in. And you walk in that cemetery, you'll find thousands of people that'll trade their place with you in a heartbeat. But as you walk, I want you to pay attention to what you see there. You see all these stones, one after the other after the other. They've all got names on them. Jane Doe, John Doe. But look even closer, and what you'll find is they all have dates on them. They have one date, which we call a birth date, and then they have another date, which we call a death date. But if you look even closer, you'll see something else. Now think about that. That birth date and that death date, none of us had anything to do with it. The birth date, you came in crying, screaming, protesting, bald and butt naked. And you're probably going to go out the same way. You don't have anything to do with the birth date or the death date. But what you do have something to do is that dash. And I want you to think about that dash. That's your life. That's your life. What are you going to do with your life? You know, a lot of times we let that dash just go by. We let other people live the dash. You know, your best friends live in the dash. Whoever telling you you can't do it, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't go into the beauty industry, don't stay after, don't volunteer, don't do this, don't do that. We're letting a lot of people live our dash for us. But you know what? The truth is, if you got the call and it was time for you to go, and you called that same person up or those people up and said, hey, I need you to take my place, I guarantee they wouldn't. So if they're not willing to die for us, then why do we let them live for us? Remember your dash. And I want you guys to live your dash. I want you to remember a few things. As you guys graduate and you begin this journey, this new journey, you begin anew. Every single day you can begin a new day. But you have to remember a couple things. I don't want you to fear failure. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you to fail often and fail early as possible. Because that's where I've learned the most. Not from all of the victories, but from all of the defeats. The other thing I want you to remember is that you're going to miss every shot you don't take. Every salon you don't interview, you're not getting hired at, I promise you. You're going to miss every shot you don't take. So as you guys begin to go out there and join the ranks, hopefully I'll see you on the journey. Hopefully you'll remember where it all started. You'll remember your learning leaders. You'll remember them pushing you. You'll remember your family supporting you. You'll remember your cheerleaders. You'll remember this part, because this is just the beginning, my friends. So I want you to remember that. I want you to never give up. And I want you to never, ever, ever let anyone live your dash. Thank you, guys, and congratulations.
You have to remember, he was once a future professional just like you.